Hello, I'm Allison Murtis, an AT consultant and teacher of deaf and hard of hearing students at Blast IU 17. In this presentation today, we'll be talking about self-advocacy, a deeper dive. So we will be going a little more in depth with self-advocacy than my previous presentation. What is self-advocacy? Self-advocacy is learning how to speak up for yourself, making your own decisions about your own life, learning how to get information so that you can understand things that are of interest to you, finding out who will support you in your journey, knowing your rights and responsibilities, problem solving, listening and learning, reaching out to others when you need help and friendship, and learning about self-determination. That definition was taken from Wright's Law, and I just felt that it really encompassed what self-advocacy is. Why is it so important that we have self-advocacy? Self-advocacy skills are something that will be used across the board from toddler throughout your entire life. So it's really important that we teach the skills needed, also so that the students are able to participate in making decisions about their own lives. We don't want to be making decisions for them. We want to be making decisions with them. All right. The biggest part of self-advocacy is giving students the language. They have to be able to have the language available to them to be able to then advocate for themselves. So they will need that explicit instruction and exposure to that language. So what could that look like? That could look like social stories for students. They can have social stories readily available that are incorporated into lessons. They could also be stories that are then used in free time so the student has access to it regularly so they can practice those skills. Have access to the written words with the pictures if needed, depending on the skill and the level of the students that you're working with. It might be a word wall, it might be a picture dictionary, but just giving them access to some written words. If you have a student that uses a device, let's make sure that we have specific buttons or pages that the student knows how to get to that advocate for themselves. Model how to use that device so that they are then able to find those buttons again and again. Use the language regularly across multiple settings. Demonstrate for them how to ask help in math class, in the cafeteria, or on a field trip. Asking for help is something that they will need frequently and in multiple settings. Have sentence starters readily available. Sentence starters are an easy way for students if they get nervous or anxious when they're talking to people that they don't typically see on a regular basis or interact with regularly. Having something like a sentence starter with them or available to them will help that anxiety kind of ease a little bit. And then practicing pre-scripted scenarios. Sometimes practicing the scenarios can feel a little unnatural, but the more that they are practiced, the more the students get comfortable, and then that helps with that carryover into a real life situation. All right, so we're going to start at the preschool level. These are some of the skills that you might see preschool students have. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just a list that I came up with, and if you work with preschool students and have any other skills that you are seeing regularly, by all means, please jump in. So what does it look like for a preschool student to be advocating for themselves? This is where we need to be giving them the skills needed to be advocating for themselves. Give them a choice instead of just doing it for them. You might have a preschool student who always wants the pink plate, but give them a choice. They might decide they want blue that day. So, would you like the blue plate or the pink plate today? It might not ever change, but giving them that option to be able to say what they want is giving them ways to advocate for themselves. Let them try before offering help. At this stage, it might be a little painful sometimes to let them try to zipper that jacket all by themselves. before you just jump right in and take over. Little things like that, zippering jackets, putting their backpacks on, picking out their clothes the night before, those are skills that will transition into independent living skills when they are post high school. So they do need to start at young ages to then be able to snowball those skills. Right? Giving them the words for the emotions that they are feeling and expressing, we want to make sure that we are not only talking about the negative feelings and emotions that these students might be expressing. We want to make sure we're also giving them the words for the positive or the unsure emotions. So practice using no or not right now in appropriate ways. We know that no is a popular word that is often learned very early on in the preschool ages, but giving them avenues to use that appropriately, and modeling what that looks like to be used appropriately will help them then carry over. So self-advocacy for elementary students, identifying needs, expressing boundaries, asking for clarification, or using accommodations. This is where the students will start to understand that their needs are often accommodations. In the academic setting. So they need to figure out and communicate what they think they need. It could be whether they need to add the closed captioning to a video, or if they think they need the teacher to talk a little louder or turn the lights off a little bit if they're starting to get a headache. It could also be in a personal or social setting. Sometimes the cafeteria can be really difficult. For students to practice expressing, but it's a really good environment for them to practice. And like I had started to say, making that connection that their needs are usually connected to an accommodation. This could be using math manipulatives or anything like that. Helping them start to see that their needs really are and can be connected to an accommodation, helps them start to learn their IEP before that transition age. Know which people can help them with certain tasks. Can be super helpful for these young elementary students, and even as they then lead up into middle school and high school. If they know that they have to give a presentation and they have some words that they're struggling with, they can easily go to their speech therapist and say, "Hey, can we work on these couple words or the entire presentation?" You might have a student who struggles with tying their shoe, but they really want to meet that goal. So they talk with an OT or something like that. So giving them the people to then help them with specific tasks will help them in the long run. And then figuring out what helps them learn. Give them some prompts so that they can figure out what they think which ways they learn best. This is also the age where we really want them to start thinking, what do I need and why do I need that? One example that here is I need to sit in the middle of the classroom because the hallway can be really noisy when I sit by the door and I can't hear you. So when the teacher hears the student asking to sit in a specific place in that way, they have a better understanding. Oh, they're not just asking to sit next to their friend. They're asking because it is something that they need. It also helps them learn about the disability that the student has. So when they are learning what they need, start introducing the why they need it. And these are some great sentence starters that the students can use, help them think about how to fill in those blanks, and then model that for them. I hate when I'm talking to somebody and they keep turning their head to talk in the direction that they are pointing or something like that. So I often ask for people to not turn their head and to continue looking at me so that I can hear them more clearly. This goes back to giving them that language that's all gonna cycle through. Self-advocacy for middle school students. Once again, not an exhaustive list of skills, but this is what we could see with our middle school students. So understanding wants versus needs, identifying the right time and place, self-awareness and communication. Wants and needs for middle school students can be a little confusing. They are going to think that a lot of things are needs when some of them are more so wants. That goes right hand in hand with this age group and identifying the right time and place. So if the teacher is talking with somebody else, we don't just barge right into that conversation. We wait for the appropriate time in the appropriate place. Right? So helping the student figure out how they learn best. Do they need it to be quiet, or does some light music in the background help? Just little things like that that they might be able to start to realize, oh, I really like this. This is really helpful to me. Right. And then their learning style. Some students might find it fun to take like a learning style quiz just for fun. Some might find that very overwhelming, but if you can ask and prompt them with different things like that, they get them thinking, do I like to have things auditorily, or do I like to have them tactilely, or do I like to have them visually? Or maybe it's a combination of multiple. Practice advocating in a respectful way. Sometimes when asking for things and advocating for yourself, if it's not practiced in a respectful way, it can come across as very rude and disrespectful. This is that tricky age where the attitudes can come out and some things can come across as disrespectful, and that's not how the student meant that to be. So having them practice doing it in a respectful way and learning how to, if it did come out the wrong way, how to then backtrack and fix it and make it come out so that you're not coming across as disrespectful, learning from your mistakes. Right. And then demonstrating more independence in appropriate ways. They really should be starting to do some more independent things at this age level. Right. So self-advocacy for high school students. It could look like academic independence, some future readiness. This is where they start to do transition, accommodations and supports, knowing what they need, learning their IEP, knowing their rights, and communicating proactively. So have students start thinking about their transition out of school, out of high school. What are they going to need? What do they want to do? Do they want to go right to the job force? Do they want to focus on independent living? Do they want to do post-secondary education in some manner? So this is where they need to start thinking, what skills do I need for that transition out of high school, and how do I practice those skills now? So taking ownership of their schoolwork and their due dates. Are they able to follow the deadline? Are they able to keep track of all of the things that they need to do? And if they're not, let's give them the tools that they then are able to do that. Um, Actively participating in meetings like their IEP meetings or with outside services like OBR or anything else. This is where the students can really speak up for themselves and make what they like and what they want known. We don't want them just sitting there quietly. We want them to be participating. An IEP should be a positive experience for the students. So we want to make sure that we're letting them know all of the good things that they are doing and not just negative things. Right? And then learning their rights. They need to know that they have the right to different things in different settings. They have the right to an interpreter when they go to a doctor's appointment. But they also have to know they can't just show up that same day and ask for an interpreter that same day. So there are some caveats that the students need to learn, that if I want an interpreter for my doctor's appointment, I need to ask for it when I schedule it, that kind of thing. So there are limits to some things. So the students need to learn what will that look like for them.
It's very vital that you attend your IEP meetings because it's about you. Nobody's going to know yourself but you, and you know what you need.
start your transition plan early, ask about it, just in case your school never mentioned it to you. Know that you're supposed to have a transition plan at an early age.
For people like myself who have had advocates like a strong parent or a guardian, they're not going to be there in college and they're not going to be there with you for the rest of your life. So it's very important that you take heed and, take notice of what you need. So when they do step away, you can just take the ball and continue rolling.
They can advocate for themselves by reaching out to their school support team to see what each staff members have to offer for them.
For students who do go to school with able-bodied peers or have able-bodied peers around them, maybe you can think of programs or activities that include both populations and that you guys can feed off each other and learn from each other.
From the workplace, I would like to see them interact with other employees that don't have disabilities, so it doesn't just have to be a disability employed place.
You should be really engaged, really open. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, because that's the only way you're going to know what new capabilities you have.
I would encourage all students to never be ashamed of their disability, because I believe that everyone has differences.
Your disability gives you the voice, a different perspective on life that people may take for granted. So use your disability as a tool to teach others. Make sure you're a key player in everything. Make sure you're active. Make sure you're telling people, no, this is not how it should be. I work with it best this way, or I think I need this services.
We already have labels as people with disabilities, and if we follow through with the labels, then we'll never get where we dreamed of.
The future is not limited to anyone, and don't let your disability stop you. And all these things that you're doing now is gonna help you on the path to a better life and a more inclusive life, and give you the freedom that you wanted to do the things that you want to.
Right. So self-advocacy and special education. Start small and scaffold the skills. Our population of special education students are gonna need the repetition. They're gonna need the scaffold of keep coming back to it, keep cycling back through. Everything we do should be kind of in that cycle to come back and repeat what we're doing. We can easily encourage some peer mentoring, have older students work with younger students to help them practice their self-advocacy skills. That is also a great way to have them see it put into practice and that carry over into different settings. You also want to have them start to learn about their disabilities. It is important that they learn how a little bit about their disability, so that then that goes back to their what and their why.